Hello everyone, it's Milana Mill, and this time I'm actually drawing fan art of Naruto and Hinata from Naruto the Last movie. um, I've been actually watching Naruto, but I haven't been able to finish it. But the movie looked so amazing that I just had to spoil it for myself. And since the movie was so amazing, I really wanted to draw a picture relating to it. Uh, this is going to be a two-part video, or in this video I'm gonna do sketching and the character coloring, while in the second part I'm gonna do the background coloring, or painting more accurately to be said. And it's gonna jump a little bit because in actuality I first did the sketch, then I painted the background, and only then I painted the characters. But the background painting took so long time that I really just had to cut some time because the video would have turned out to be so goddamn long. But anyway, I actually have a topic to talk about in this video, and that is perfectionism in art. And I figured it would be a good topic for this kind of pretty detail heavy drawing. And I'm actually just gonna tell you my story about how I personally struggled with perfectionism in art. and and I actually talked to a few of my friends, and they said that many actually had pretty similar stories. So I thought it would be a good thing to share with you guys, and maybe you don't do the same mistakes that me and many other people seem to do. So for me, my perfectionism caused me to take a break for around half a year. For half a year, I drew basically nothing at all. And what I want to talk about is what led me to it. And it's not just like I didn't draw, it's actually that I couldn't draw. And for me, I think what caused all of that was because I decided about 6 years ago, I think roughly, that I wanted to be professional. That's the point when I already knew that this is something that I want to do for a living, this is something I want to do for a career. And I think that part of what inspired me to make that decision was because I really started to want to improve. At first I was just a hobbyist, but after I joined to different art sites like DeviantArt and other places, I started communicating with people. I realized that there's so many people with so good works, like people who were for example around my skill level, who were just as good as me. Their work looked so much better than mine because it was so polished, and they had knowledge on coloring that I didn't have. So it was basically a desire to improve and just become good, and then become professional. Not just for the sake of money, but because I wanted to be good. And for me, improvement was the kind of thing that made me feel good. Like actually, I really enjoyed it genuinely. And it's not just that I was able to top myself, but when people noticed that I improved, it obviously kind of was an ego boost when people were like, "Oh, you have improved so much," and it just kind of gave me more fuel to my fire. And I just wanted to work even more harder and become even more better, so people would like notice me, and also that I could be proud of myself. Now, because I like improving, I started to seek out critique. And I actually had a few friends who have given me the most amazing critique that I have ever received in my life, to be honest. Like, you know, the kind that really helped me to go through the hardest times, and the kind of feedback that I felt like I needed. And and you know, eventually it kind of started to become so that I didn't want to disappoint anyone's expectations. Like, not only did I want to not to disappoint myself, but because I now had people who supported me and who gave me critique, I felt like I had to sort of comply to it. And in in some ways, I felt like I was supposed to apply all that critique right away, even though that's not how reality goes. Even if you learn that, you know, something is to be done this way, that doesn't mean you can automatically do it. But you know, I started to become maybe a little bit obsessed with, you know, becoming better. And for me, it was so that, you know, it's that every work that I created, every new work, it had to be better than the work that I did before that. Like, you know, um, you know, if I drew something, then the next work I did after that had to be even better and even prettier and even more grand and beautiful. And you know, it had to have all these kind of, you know, I had this sort of personal criteria. It just had to be better. And 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 the funny thing is that you know, I always knew that you can never be perfect. Like, I never expected a perfection out of myself, because I always knew that even if I tried to create everything to be exactly perfect, they will never turn out that way. So I should never seek out perfection, because that doesn't exist. And I still think that way. There is no such thing as a perfection. But, you know, even though I realized it, it was it was so weird, because I was like, well, in like somehow in my mind I was just like, well, my works don't need to be perfect, but they need to be 99.9% perfect, you know? So it's like they don't have to be exactly perfect, but you know, almost, you know, just an inch. And it's like, you know, I really didn't allow myself to fail at all. And you know, because of this kind of attitude that I had towards my work, that no, my works don't have to be perfect, but they have to be better, always better, every work, even if it's the sketch, even if it's, you know, a simple doodle, it has to be better. And you know, because of this kind of attitude that I had, I was totally blind towards my own perfectionism. I thought that I'm not perfectionism, like I'm not perfectionist, because I'm not seeking for perfection. Only almost exactly that. And you know, I really started to just push myself to my limits. Like, how should I say it? Like, I kept, for example, in one work, if I wasn't satisfied with it, I drew it over and over and over. And when I say over and over and over, I swear over and over and over. There was one picture I drew 17 times from scratch, again, one picture 30 times. I was so dissatisfied with my work, not like not being what I expected them to be, that I just kind of forced myself. It was like, no, if I decide that it's gonna be better, it's gonna be better. And for somehow I kind of expected that I was able to do it. You know, I just kept telling myself that I can do it, you know. But like, that's what really made it super weird for me, because it's just like, what, why, you know? And I was so frustrated and angry, and sometimes I actually cried, because I was just like, this work that I'm doing right now, it's not going anywhere. It looks horrible, it looks shitty. And when you spend say like 40 hours on one drawing, and after those 40 hours you're exactly where you begin, like you're still at the start. After 40 hours you're exactly where you started from. You become uninspired. So I dropped many of my works. I was just like, I'm not gonna finish this, I'm just gonna drop them, they're not good enough. And you know then slowly I would draw less and less. Like more time passed when I didn't create any art, I didn't post any art, because I wasn't able to finish anything. And I would try again, repeat the same old thing, and just be like, I can do it, I can do it. But still, after doing it countless times over, I realized, no, I can't do it. And after struggling with that for so long time, because there's this point when you really hit the skill cap, like where you try to push yourself over this wall that you just cannot overcome, because you don't have that kind of skill, but yet you for some reason try to force yourself, and it's like, yes, I can climb this wall. Well, guess what, you can't. So why do you try? And I had this kind of attitude, but then it's just like I started to draw less and less. I just laid off. I was kind of just like, well, I'm gonna take a small break, not think about it, just do what I do. Because at that point, I was pushing myself so far that I was faced with huge art blocks. Well, I didn't even feel like drawing anything, because I was just so dissatisfied with anything I did. So obviously I slowly just kind of did what I did. I didn't take any official break. I just kind of laid off, and then the months just kind of started to, the weeks just started to pass by, and eventually the months, and I just kept doing what I did. I watched anime, played games, and I went outside, and I would still try to study art, and even if I didn't draw anything, I would still kind of focus on it and find tutorials, and then I would kind of start, try to draw something again, and it wouldn't succeed again. But that was the kind of time that I really felt like I needed. And even though I went through all that, I never felt like quitting. I never felt like I wanted to quit art or just not do it. I just realized that I needed a break. And when I was in my break, I realized that, how toxic I was towards myself. I had a lot of time for this sort of self-reflection, and I realized that since when did I become so obsessed with becoming better? Like, I had these ridiculous expectations for myself, and I had kind of painted this kind of picture in my mind that, if I didn't do better, people would be disappointed. My followers would be disappointed, and people who have given me critique would be disappointed. And for me, it was, after I stayed away for half a year, I kind of realized that no one is putting those boundaries on me except myself. I'm the one who feels like people would be disappointed, even though I bet they wouldn't. Um, and because before I was always focusing on just creating new, better work all the time. Like my previous work, it have had to have detailed background and you know um, like new perspective and amazing coloring and all these kind of things. And to be honest, because I really genuinely enjoyed improving, I actually wanted to do practices. I always thought about doing them, but I was so focused with just trying to create this perfect perfect works that would impress everyone, that I wasn't really left with time on anything else, because everything I did, like after I would finish one of my drawings, I would just straight up start a new one right away. And 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 I would really just kind of draw that all the time. So never really ended up doing anything else aside from that, which is a big mistake. But for some reason, I also kind of felt like even if I did, they wouldn't be good enough. Like, unless my practices were perfect, then what's the point? And and when I realized all these expectations that I had given myself, I also started to realize how toxic my own mentality, not only towards my own work, but towards myself was. Like, how I was treating myself when I failed, and how I kept punishing myself by, refusing to give up. Like, yeah, refusing to give up is great, but when it goes to the point of obsession, just forcefully trying to do something you just aren't able to do, that's when there's a problem. And I really started to realize that during this half a year, especially when I just watched months go by, and I'm just like, I'm not creating anything, I'm not posting anything online because I have absolutely nothing to post. And that was also something that made me realize realize my perfectionism, because I kind of came to the conclusion that which one is better, drawing anything or drawing nothing for half a year? Like, which one is better? Like, would my followers and people who give me critique, would they rather enjoy that I would post more frequently, maybe not always beautiful work, sometimes they're just practices, sometimes they're a little bit messy, sometimes they're not perfect, and then once in a while post these more grand illustrations? Or would I only focus on these grand illustrations and doing absolutely nothing else, by eventually driving myself to the corner and ending up not drawing anything? And I kind of figured that maybe I don't need to be so hard on myself, that maybe it's really me who's making this a bigger deal than it is. And after I realized that, I was actually able to start off from really fresh, like from fresh table. Can you say that? From new table? Don't know. I don't care. You get my metamorphosis, what? but um but yeah, after that I was kind of able to let go of my perfectionism. I still am perfectionist, thank you, to a sort of extent, but I don't let it control myself anymore. And nowadays I'm able to do practices without feeling bad about it. And I also try to care less about what other people think, in like, not really caring less what other people think, but caring less about what I think that other people think. So that's basically my story, and this is where I'm now. And I can honestly say that after I let go of my perfectionism and just did what I, wanted to do. If I wanted to do simple practices, just doodles that look shitty, I was able to do them, and I was happy. And to be honest, I noticed I improved so much after I came back into drawing. I improved so much in short time because I was able to focus on things that actually needed to be improved. And I was able to take small baby steps instead of trying to rush into these grand illustrations. So, that's that's basically the story of, how I became this sort of perfectionist, and how I was able to escape it. And I would be really interested to know if anyone else has any similar stories with perfectionism, and if you do, I would really love if you would leave a comment below and tell me about it. And if you have any other subjects regarding to art, because I really want to make more these kind of topics, then let me know and ask some questions if you feel like it. Did I say ask or ask? I don't know. Ask. Anyway, ask me questions. And otherwise, like, comment, and subscribe, because these videos take time when I'm working with potatoes. I swear, I'm working with real potatoes here. Anyway, thanks for listening and watching, and bye!